welcome to the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Kennedy, and I'm here to help you become the very best version of yourself. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast. Today I'm joined by Megan Anderson. She's a former international netballer. She's currently the head coach of the Queensland Firebirds in the ANZ Championship. So for all of my listeners out there that enjoy netball, you guys are going to love today's episode. We dive into a number of different topics, including, her mindset, her interest in human movement and sports science, how she approaches, professional sport now as a coach compared to when she was a player. We touch on the topic of wrapping your identity around being an athlete or whatever it may be, whatever your passion is, and how that can be a good thing, but it can also be difficult when that time finishes up. We also go into a lot of detail around preparation, about what Megan thinks are the more important values as an athlete and as a coach, and how to build a really good culture within your team. So I know you guys are going to love today's episode. So if you do enjoy it and take some value away, I would love for you to take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your story for me on Instagram. I know you guys are going to love the episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation with Megan. Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I was excited to have you on. It's I've actually never had anyone in the the industry or the field of netball so far. Not for any reason in particular, but I was excited to do this one and give the audience some different perspective or insight into the sport, and then also just obviously we have a lot of professional athletes and successful people on the show. And there always seems to be a bit of a common theme. The saying, success leaves clues. It tends to be regardless of what industry or field people are in. Seems to be a lot of similarity. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up today. But the first thing I wanted to bring up to start us off is coming up as a junior, working your way into the professional ranks as a netballer. Was that something that you always wanted to do? Was that, right from an early age, you had your sights set on becoming a professional netballer?
No, it was a bit strange because I was from the New South Wales Central Coast, so that's like an hour north of Sydney, and I really didn't know what professional netball was when I was younger. And I think the first time I actually tried out for a team was when I was 15, and that was the same year that I think it was Commonwealth Games in maybe 1990, and it was in Sydney, and so I watched that on TV and I tried out for my first state schools representative team, and that was kind of when it all started. But I'd played in the local rep teams, but I was from Woy Woy, so pretty much everybody who tried out got in, so it wasn't massive, and I didn't know I just didn't know about netball outside of my little area at that point, so it was a little bit late starting for me. But then once I got a little taste, and that was it was all over.
How many people roughly in the town you grew up in?
Well, I don't even know. There wouldn't be many, maybe
not
like
many.
4,000. Yeah, like my parents moved
right.
there. My parents moved there just as I was born, and it was basically like a new town.
Okay.
The town when they built their houses, so it was really new, and the freeway wasn't even there leading up to it. So it used to take hours to get there from Sydney, but very small town.
I grew up in Horsham in country Victoria. I don't know if you have any real idea of Victoria. But maybe not as small as where you grew up, but very, very similar vibe, like the whole town, regardless of whether you have any aspiration of going to play professional sport or whatever at a later age. It's like almost everybody ends up playing either football or netball. And it's very different from the city. So I moved here straight after year 12 for basketball, actually. So when you moved out of town and kind of, I'm assuming you eventually moved to Sydney. What age were you when you left?
I travelled a bit, so I was going to uni in Sydney and playing netball in Sydney, but still living at home. So it wasn't until I was about 24 that when I finished uni and started playing properly and really devoting a lot of time to it. So it was a little bit older and travelling pretty much like 3 or 4 times a week from
Yeah.
where I lived into town, and doing study on trains and all that sort of stuff. So it was pretty full on, but like, you love your sport, so you do whatever you can to make it work, don't you?
In a way, did you find that having to juggle or multitask all those things and try and do them all at such a high level, that almost prepared you, I guess, for when you stepped into the professional ranks, and all of a sudden you do have to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes, and you do have the travel involved, you have the stuff outside of the sport as well. But I guess the preparation is such a big thing, and that was one of the things I wanted to bring up in our chat. So did you find that almost like how to prepare for what it was going to be like once you did become a pro?
Yeah, probably. I think I've always been a pretty organized person, and I'm not one that likes to sit still. So I do as much as I can to cram into my day so that I don't have to sit down and
Yeah.
not do anything. So, but definitely being organised helped. And netball probably was only semi-professional when I started. So, you always thought you had to do study to prepare yourself for life after netball, or life while you were doing netball. So that helped as well, because I didn't just get the free path, or netball's now my job, I don't have to do anything else. So, but yeah, definitely, having to do training sessions in lunch hour when I worked, and travel on the trains and get study done late at night and all that sort of stuff definitely helped prepare you for being busy and having to please, or tick lots of boxes in lots of areas of your life, and not just concentrate on yourself.
Yeah. Now, I believe you've got a bit of an interest in, or a big interest in, human movement and sports science. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I did a sports science degree because I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I
Yep.
knew that I wanted to be in sport, and so I thought that's the best thing to do. And I just love all things sport and health and fitness, and outdoors, anything to do with sport, I love.
How early in your career did you get involved in like resistance and strength training, and then fast forward to now, like how important is that for a netball athlete, and is it a big part of the professional culture, the strength and conditioning side of things?
Yeah, I think we were really lucky, because when I was playing at the Swifts in Sydney, we had the same trainer as the Sydney Swans, and so
Yep.
they were obviously really big into strength and conditioning. So, we did probably 3 days a week of strength and conditioning, and it was something that I really loved. And it wasn't until that I finished and I had kids, and then trying to get back into exercise, and I realised that my whole body hurt, my back hurt, and my hips would hurt, and my knees would hurt, because I hadn't been in the gym for a year and a half. So I really missed it. And so getting back into that, you realise the importance of it. But these days, the girls are so strong. Like, I can keep up with them fitness-wise now if I train with them, but they're just so strong and powerful because they're just in the gym all the time, and it just makes them so explosive on the court, and really helps them prevent their injuries as well.
For the listeners that maybe don't have as much of an understanding, like what are the most important, I guess, components of the strength training, in terms of like what areas are you really trying to develop and build up for the netball athletes? Is it power and strength through the hammies and glutes? Is it a lot of agility work? Obviously, there's heaps of change of direction and stop starting and stuff like that. So what are the main areas that the girls work on in their sessions?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. So obviously they would just start off with a bit of a base type program to rebuild them after the off season. But a lot of the stuff in season is lots of power and explosive stuff, and building up the hammies and the glutes to give them that stability in the lower in their lower body. But they do a lot of rotational work, upper body, because when you're catching the ball like on extension and in the air and getting hit from behind and twisting, a little bit like AFL really.
Yeah.
But it's quite a similar sport, I think. But yeah, lots of rotational stuff, and just really explosive, and making sure that they're super speedy on the court, but also really strong so they can take the hits as well.
Interesting. On the flip side of that, completely opposite to that actually, but I think everyone tuned in at the moment at some point in their life, obviously, has gone through some form of adversity. And if they haven't, then definitely in the last 18 to 24 months, they definitely have. As an athlete, like whether it be an injury or whether it be a big loss or, you losing a game you expected to win or a grand final series, whatever it may be, what's your process of dealing with that adversity and then turning it into a positive, or like how do you as an individual, whether it be as player or coach, deal with that adversity and then make something or bring something good out of it?
Yeah, I think as a player, I've had plenty of adversity, lost games and didn't make teams. And the whole time I was in the Australian team, I was in and out of it the whole time. It was never smooth sailing. So I was always just focusing on what's next and what can I do to improve myself. I think the one thing that I probably could have done better as a player was just to see the whole my whole life as a big, broad view, more holistic when I was a player. Like I was really focused on, okay, I need to get fitter, I need to do this, I need to do that. And it kind of narrowed my focus and made me a little bit too, I suppose, obsessed with the netball. Whereas now that, I think I'm older and I've had kids and, I've done, netball isn't everything anymore. So it's made me a little bit have a bit of a more holistic view over things. But I think when you do have a setback, I mean, you've just got to realise that it happens, and you can't, as long as you've put in everything that you could put into it, and you can't change the result, then you can't change the result. So there's no point obsessing over it, but just setting and reviewing it really thoroughly and making sure that you are doing everything that you can. And, okay, what can I do next time to make it better? But yeah, there's really no point obsessing over it because you can't change it anyway.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously that laser focus and the dedication to the specific goal that you had as a player, which is obviously to win and to be the best player you can possibly be and be as fit as possible and whatnot. Athletes tend to, I guess, wrap their whole identity around their sport. And this is not just as an athlete, like this could be anyone listening, whether it be their job or their relationship or whatever it may be. You tend to just identify yourself only with that one thing. And then if that goes away, or if you lose that, all of a sudden you almost don't even know who you are, and you feel like people don't want anything to do with you unless you're doing that one thing. Obviously, you've stepped into the role as the Firebirds coach now, so you're still in the sport. But when you finish up your career as a player, is that something that you struggled with? Do you think, like, all of a sudden that the main thing that you focused on for so long is now gone, and then, or did it almost feel like there was a bit of like something missing, like an empty hole there?
There was a bit of a void for a while, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I did a postgrad in business because I thought I wanted to get into the business side of sport somehow, but I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just took a job in a private school in the sports department and just kind of chugged along for a while. And you see, I saw my friends being commentators for netball and others being coaches and others doing other stuff. And you do feel a little bit lost for a while, but I think it does give you time to reflect on what you've achieved and what you really want to do, and focus on other things in your life. So I think rather than thinking back and thinking about what you have done and not knowing where to go, just be present in the moment and appreciate what you have right now, and then other opportunities will usually pop up, I think, when you're really open to it.
Being present and having gratitude and stuff like that is the whole mindfulness and gratitude side of things. Is that something that that you've adopted for a long period of time, or is it something that's been relatively new to you? Obviously, I talk a lot about this on the show, and we've had some really good guests on the show who go into the whole world of mindfulness and personal development and stuff like that. And I think it's super important, not only for athletes, just for everyone in general. Is that something that you put a lot of attention towards? Like, do you have a daily or morning routine you like to follow? Do you meditate or anything like that? Or do you have any form of practices that you like to do on a day-to-day basis?
No, I don't actually, but it's definitely something that I'm keen to look into. I don't have a set routine every day, and it's probably something that that is missing from what I do at the moment. I tend to just use my exercise as a bit of a mindfulness time for me, and just to switch off and let my mind forget about things and release all the tension and stuff. But it's something that I have explored over the last few years, just in terms of being able to sit quietly at some point during the day wherever I am, and take some time out for myself. But yeah, it's not something that I've actually studied or got into a good routine with. Yeah.
As a obviously playing for the international, playing international netball with the Australian team, and then I guess state or club national level here as well. What have you found are some of the most important, I guess, values as a team that are great for the culture? I think it's super important, regardless of whether it's a workplace or a team or whatever, even relationships or whatever, to have a really good culture and be really clear on what the values are. Is that over the years as a player and now as a coach, is that something that you've put importance on, and is there any values, I guess, that stick out to you that are, I guess, essential for a successful team?
Yeah, look, I think honesty is my most favoured value, because I just think nothing can exist properly without honesty. So sometimes obviously you have to be a little bit not so forthright in your honesty, but making sure that you're always being honest with the teammates around you. And the other thing is just doing everything for the team. So in netball especially, it's not like basketball, you can take over and dribble yourself. You actually need teammates to play well. So knowing the big picture of whether you want to make the diamonds or you want to win the game or you want to actually perform well, you have to make everyone around you look good as well. So making sure that everything you do is for the rest of the team. I think that's probably the main thing for netball. But yeah, honesty is my big thing as a coach, especially.
Yeah.
And I think that probably came from having coaches that weren't that honest with me, and it was something that I just wanted to know what I can do to be better, or what I can do to get on the court. And so that's something that I've definitely taken into my coaching role, that trying to be always honest with the athletes so they know where they stand.
Yeah.
And their purpose and identity within the team.
I guess second to that, or with that, I guess, comes communication as well. I would have thought, as a coach, have you realized now, or have you found now the importance of communication more so than when you're a player, or were you always someone that was big on communication with teammates and coaches as well?
Yeah, I probably sat on things that were bothering me a little bit as an athlete, and I think just because you're a little bit scared to go talk to the coach sometimes, so I try and make myself be really approachable as a coach. And I think what I've learned over the last year is that remembering that the athletes can be a bit scared to come and talk to you because they think it will affect their chances, but when you do talk to them and trying to get them to open up, give them time to speak, not continually speaking and putting words in their mouth, so that then they do have the chance to open up. But yeah, trying to build those relationships so that they feel free just to come and talk to you about anything, and get things out in the open, because there's no point stewing on things, that's for sure.
Did you always play for a coach who had previously been a player?
Yeah, mostly. My first coach at the Swifts, she played, but not at a high level. But then most of my other coaches had played to a fairly high level. Yeah.
Is there anything that you, I guess, wish you had have known, or I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but is there anything that you wish you had have known or done now as an athlete, now that you've been in the opposite side of it as a coach and seen it from a different perspective?
Yeah, I think what you were talking about before in terms of attaching your identity to netball, and I think it's a really hard thing to not do, and I think that's something that would have made me a more well-rounded player and probably more relaxed when I was playing, and not so focused on little details and getting caught up on things. So I'm not sure how to teach that or how to instill that belief in players, but that's something that I would definitely try and do better if I went back again.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm assuming that I'm hoping anyway that there'd be a fair few girls listening at the moment that do play netball. Like I said, coming from a country town, it's extremely common that literally almost everyone plays netball at some point in time in their junior career. Like for anyone listening that does have the aspiration to make it professionally or just play at a high level, whether it's with the national team or just at a state level or whatever it may be. What's your advice? Is there a certain pathway that you'd recommend? Is there do you have any advice for anyone listening to give themselves the best opportunity to make it at the highest level?
I think there's so many pathways for netball these days, so I don't think that there's any one right way. And everybody develops differently. So I think netball's a good game because you don't have to be tall. You can be shorter. If you've got good skills, then that's a good thing as well. But like people develop at all different ages. We have people that start playing at 15 and don't make we've got a girl in our team at the moment that comes from Yarram in Victoria, and she didn't start playing till she was 15 or 16, and
right.
She's 24 now, and last year was her first year in the Firebirds squad, so she developed quite late compared to other people, but she's here now and she's in the Australian development team. So I think the main thing is just to keep trying and improving yourself. And if you're getting, sometimes if you're getting stale at a club that you're at, change clubs. If you like a coach at another club, or, just keep sparking up your learning so that you're continually improving and not plateauing, I think. But the most thing would just be to have fun and play because you love it, and wherever that takes you, it takes you. And I think try to have that broad view of it, like you do it because you love it. If it takes you where the aspirations go, then so be it, but sometimes it doesn't, and that's just life, isn't it?
100%. I love that. That's great advice, and also a great way to wrap up our chat. I want to be super mindful of your time. So, Megan, thanks so much for joining us today. I'd love to chat to you to longer. We might have to do another one at some point and do a part 2. But I do really appreciate your time today. I know you're super busy, so thank you very much. And obviously, good luck with everything moving forward, and I wish you all the success. And again, hopefully we can get you back on at some point.
Yeah, next year in the preseason, we'll show you some of the girls in the gym.
Yes, that'd be good. That'd be awesome. Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, everyone who's tuned into today's episode, we'd love for you to take a screenshot of this episode today, post up an Instagram story, tag myself, tag Megan, make sure you get around the Firebirds, and share this episode with your friends. And Megan, I'll chat to you again soon. Thank you very much.